Let's go over some hot takes, unpopular opinions in metal. That's all we need for chit chat, right? So let's fucking do it. Dance Gavin Dance has been releasing songs that sound pretty much the same since 2015, and I think it's time they try something different. Well, Emo Koreka, I think you're right. And this is coming from someone who loves Dance Gavin Dance, but I reviewed the latest album and I had some issues with it. The issues was that it's pretty much more of the same. Although I can see Dance Gavin Dance fans really enjoying the latest record, it's just there's nothing really overly that different other than capitalizing on the sound that's going to appeal to their fan base, but it's not going to appeal to anybody else outside the fan base too much. One of the biggest elements to the new record was incorporating Andrew from Idola into the latest album, and anytime you could hear his vocals and stuff, it was some of the highlights of the album because it was something a little bit different. The Tillian era of Dance Gavin Dance is my favorite era, but it's also starting to sound a little bit samey, although it's really good. But like, look, let's see Calentamiento Global. God, I'm Spanish and I can't even pronounce it. But this song's a little bit different for Dance Gavin Dance. It's a little bit Mars Volta-ish, but like I want them to experiment, but you know, they're kind of stuck in the same sound that's a little bit comfortable. I feel like they know exactly what to do, and that's why they can write 18 songs for their latest album. But yeah, it's just more of the same. So I totally agree with this hot take that Dance Gavin Dance is they gotta shake up their sound a little bit. It's easier to write technical skilled music than catchy pop songs. This is a good argument. I really do see the merit in this opinion, because there's so many times where people tell me, like, complain about some of my reviews saying like, oh, I'm surprised that Metal Burb didn't like this, and Vent Animate comes to mind. They say like, oh, how can Metal Burb not like this? Because it's so technical, the musicianship is insane. And I always say, with that kind of logic, every Animals as Leader song is a masterpiece, because they're so technically proficient, they're so insane. Every Polyphia song is a masterpiece, but that's not the case. There's so much more to it. So this is Blackpink, Pink Venom. It is the #2 global top music video. It has 347 million views. But it's something about like the choice in tone, the choice in drums, the choice in flow, the choice in words. It's everything that creates just like a really clever hook. You know, this is extremely accessible, so it's going to appeal to the mass audience. So it's definitely like really good. And I won't say it's an completely easy thing to write by any means. Sometimes, like, you know, I think for the musicians out there, and like, you know, you guys know I'm a guitarist, sometimes it's like those riffs that like, oh fuck, I wish I wrote that kind of riff. It's so easy that you wish that you kind of wrote it, but sometimes it's having that little creative moment that just sparks. Like, but I'll contrast this to Kayfo. This song is possibly one of the hardest songs on guitar. Okay, so this song goes on for 7 minutes. I will argue that Kayfo is harder to write than that K-pop song, than Blackpink. And it's because to play guitar the way that Tosin Abasi is playing is so much years of practice, so much hours spent learning guitar, but also being creative and trying something different within the instrument. So this song, I think, is so much harder to write than the Blackpink song. Although Blackpink, I think, has a lot more people working on it. Let's see. So we got a lyricist or composer. We have 4 composers, 2 lyricists, and just Blackpink on vocals. So we got a fucking team of people working on this song, where Animals as Leaders is really just 2 people. It's Tosin Abasi, and Misha helped write the drums on this record too. Dude, so yeah, I think I totally understand the opinion here, and I think there's nuance in this opinion. I don't think it's definitely like, you know, catchy songs are harder to write than more technical music. I think there's just nuance in this. So I will say Animals as Leaders is harder to write than Blackpink, but there's also times where like Blink-182 music, some of their hooks are just as hard to write than Viljarta coming up with a track. Viljarta could just do like what they're comfortable with, these insane fall rhythms and weird complex songs, and just kind of write it organically, where like Blink-182 has to really think of melodies, really have to come up with a hook. So that's where I'm getting at. There's like nuance in this opinion. The new Devil Wears Prada album is okay, not great. Woo! Shit. This is going to ruffle some feathers, man. This is definitely going to ruffle some feathers. Devil Wears Prada are legends to the metalcore scene, right? They are the ones that incorporate a lot of like synth into their breakdowns where it became kind of cheesy. Their song titles were those super long, random song titles. They were kind of like pioneers in that as well. So they've been around forever and they need to evolve. The Act really showcased that. And then afterwards they did Zombie 2 EP, which I fucking love. Then The Color Decay went into creative, sad boy, emo kind of territory. A lot of people are vibing out to it. I think that's really sick. The lyrics are not cookie cutter too. So there's a lot of pros that I have with the album. Although I don't think it's as amazing as people are making it out to be. I see people saying it's like album of the year, 10 out of 10. And I'm like, it's good music. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's that great either, and I only think it's because it's held back by familiar structures. It's held back by familiar emo tropes that we've heard before in the scene. It's really good, don't get me wrong. Like, in Devil Wears Prada is a fucking sick band. I saw them live. I love the band, and this has nothing to do with the band members, just the new album as an art piece. I would agree that the new album is good. I don't think it's great. Fake History by Let Live is the greatest post-hardcore album of all time. Edgar Allan Poe refused to shape a punk to come, would like to have a word with you. Gotta scream! Yeah! End of discussion. Architects peaked at Holy Hell. After that, it's all down the hill. Ooh. Nathan says true. Disagree, Johnny. Let's hear you guys instead of me going. Everyone knows I'm an Architects fan, so I can definitely go off on this one. For us metalcore elitists, yes. For the band itself, no. Agree. I agree. New album has a few bangers. I totally disagree. They have gone more rock. Not talking about commercially successful and how the band is doing now in terms like success, but in terms of sound quality, I actually think they peaked at All Our Gods Abandon Us, not even Holy Hell. So I do agree with this sentiment somewhat. I will even actually go further and say they completely peaked at Hollow Crown for me. That's like their pinnacle album for me. But the rest of their albums, like, they have some fucking bangers. Daybreaker, I fucking love that record. Lost Forever, Lost Together is really good too. Holy Hell has some good songs too, but I think All Our Gods Abandon Us was really the peak Architects album for me. And it just goes to show Tom's songwriting, but also there's something special about it that is so unmatched. Obviously the band wears their emotions on their sleeve, right? And All Our Gods Abandon Us was a very transparent album with a lot of heartbreak and just, it's so melancholic, like it's so sad. Holy Hell was good. You know, Doomsday, I think, is one of the best Architect songs the band has ever written. But the rest of the album just, you know, it felt like it was trying to follow Tom's footsteps, and it was playing good homage to him, but it wasn't like, it didn't capture the same sound quality as their previous albums, in my opinion. And after that, the next album, I think, was a disappointment, minus a few tracks being really good. Animals is really good. You know, the band is obviously, they can't write the same stuff with Tom being gone now, obviously, so the band needs to change their style. So it makes sense. It makes sense. They have to change. They literally have to change. I just don't think we're quite there, but it's missing that genuine emotion that was coming through their music that made their music so special, right? And I feel like the new albums are really kind of losing that instead of just going for cool sounds and cool hooks, which is different, but it's really missing that special feeling that we got listening to Architects. Like I said, the genuine emotion that you can literally hear through the music. And like the new song Deepfake, I think Deepfake's a banger. I think Deepfake's a really sick track. So I'm still excited for the new album, but I will actually say Architects peaked musically at All Our Gods Abandon Us. But you know, the band's they're very successful now. They're playing arena shows, right? So they know what they're doing. I just think from a, musical standpoint and how I perceive their music and how I feel listening to their music, All Our Gods Abandon Us was the peak. Hot take, go! Over a Bled. This was me. Honestly, I've said it many times. It's not really a hot take for me, but anytime I hear a go in a song, it gets me amped up. It gets me fired up. It's a nice change to the song structure where it starts picking up its energy, where a Bled is kind of the opposite. A Bled slows it down. Bleds are sick, don't get me wrong, but the Bled is overused. I think go is an actual word that makes sense, right? Go actually means like go, like let's fucking go, right? But bleh is like a made up word. It's a made up sound. And so for it to like slow it down, you can do so many other things. I don't know. I do think blehs are sick. Sam Carter even is annoyed by using that sound all the time. I think they're sick. And Orion reacts, homie, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, man. I think a bleh's a little bit overdone. Metalbird, my hot take. I almost completely lost interest in metalcore because of low tune guitars that sound really bad for me. It's a fad that I can't understand and feel like someone's trying to damage my ears with the low tunings. You know what? You're not wrong. It's kind of funny because there's like memes around it. The low tune guitars, it's oversaturating the scene. And I talk about it like Gent is extremely saturated. It's one of the things that is holding back metalcore. I've said it before, but I think 7-string and 8-string guitars are holding back metalcore. That's kind of been, I've said that hot take before, I think in the Discord. Look at VLGRTA, they're doing Thal, and they're the pioneers of the Thal sound, but now a lot of metalcore bands are doing the Thal thing, and it becomes a little bit redundant. It is what it is, but you continue to go on. Of course, there's still some metalcore bands that sound different, such as Bleed From Within, but the tendency is becoming worse and worse. Bleed From Within is an interesting example. They sound more like classic metalcore, like Parkway Drive, but I do understand what you mean. You know, Greyhaven is another example of a band that's, you know, not abusing low string guitars. Let me see, hold up. Straight From the Path, Landmarks comes to mind. They're a little bit more punk rock with their stuff too, but then they do use the pitch shifters for a breakdown for sure, so I totally agree with that. Under Oath kind of sticks to the more classic stuff. Yeah, dude, like honestly, you're not far off. A lot of bands are just abusing that sound. Boundaries is sick. It's all the bands that are not really gent and they sound more a little bit classic metalcore, which sounds a little bit refreshing, and that's why I use Bleed From Within as an example. I think with 7-string guitars, like a lot of people abuse the low string. I think you can do different things. I'm trying to think of who comes to mind, but okay, Animals as Leaders, the way that they play their 8-string guitars is on a different tone, which sounds a little bit different. And I think just tone can make such a difference in the sound of metalcore, but they all go for that crunchy, very processed sound with their tone. Ice Nine Kills. Ice Nine Kills is a great example, Jet. Yeah, and Trivium. Yeah, Trivium is still a classic, yeah. But yeah, that's a... Dude, the guitars from Ice Nine Kills is fucking amazing. His name, I'm blanking it right now, but that's a great example too. All right, so that was Opinion 6. Opinion 7. Here we go, speaking of Crystal Lake.